Wow. Just wow. What transpired last night. Absolutely. BC has... There's not many times where... and this is like a behind the scenes in pro wrestling, like what's actually happening within the organizations. There's not many times where I'm actually shocked. You know, I can think of times like the handshake deal with Lex Luger and Vince McMahon. Vince had a handshake deal with Lex, and then Lex shows up on fucking Nitro while he's still with WWE, basically. Vince thinks he's still with WWE, and this guy shows up on the first ever Nitro. Or Rick Rude, kind of playing both sides of the fence, and he showed up in WWE and WCW in the same night. Raw was taped, Nitro live, and he finagled a way where he was on both shows and really screwed Vince McMahon there. And what happened last night is just it's pretty huge, man. When you think of how this could have possibly happened, where Tony Khan sends his champions when they should have been on Dynamite. This is a big night for Dynamite, but Tony Khan doesn't really give a fuck about FTR anyway. They win every other every other fucking title around the world. But in AEW, they're like a third, fourth string act. Sadly, they don't even win as a tag team on AEW Dynamite. I think they only have a couple of victories in 2022 as a tag team on Dynamite, the flagship show. And the whole year, only a few victories, a couple tops. But they're still a hot commodity. They're still fucking with momentum. Fans still get behind FTR, and they're not even on the show. Tony sends them to another promotion to defend tag titles from another promotion. They lose the titles. On the same night that Dynamite is airing, he allows this other promotion to have his tag team defend that promotion's titles, as if that's not confusing enough. The new champions, after they defeat the AEW talent for the AAA Tag Team Championships, then Dragon Lee, the same guy who just won the title from FTR AEW talent, says that he's going to WWE. I mean, the sticker that says FTR is still on the fucking tag title, bro. And he is declaring he's going to WWE, NXT, Triple H, all. I mean, this is around midnight when H put his post up. WWE made sure to let you know that the dude that just beat FTR for fucking titles, yeah, he's going to WWE. It's not often you're going to see WWE break this news at midnight. And that's exactly what happened. Dragon Lee says it straight out. I would not put it past 3 H's. That 3 H's, Paul 3 H's Levesque, told Dragon Lee, after you win these titles, tell everyone you're going to WWE. Let's fucking stick it to him. That's how this guy learned from his father-in-law. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. If you think that Paul Levesque doesn't have a war to settle with Tony Khan, you don't know Paul Levesque. If you think that Paul Levesque has let go of all those feelings of getting his ass whooped by Tony Khan, who he called a piss ant t-shirt company, and Tony Khan leveled Triple H. Paul 3 H's Levesque was bedridden after that with all the stress. He lost. And NXT was never his baby after that. He got defeated hardcore, and he keeps that, man. You can tell everything he does, it just pisses him off. When asked about competition from AEW, he says, congratulations, you beat our developmental. It's like a college program system. That's what NXT is. Yet every time you watch NXT, you have WWE main roster talent going over, whether it's an Apollo, a Mandy Rose. Fuck, the New Day are their current tag team champions. The New Day. How many times do you see professional NFL athletes go back to college football? You don't really see that. So Triple H, 3 H's is talking from both sides here, right? He's talking out of his ass. But that's what Paul Levesque usually does. But this dude's sole mission right now is to take out AEW. If you don't think so, you don't know Paul 3H's Levesque. I've studied the motherfucker. That's his mission. I would not put it past him that he told Dragon Lee to do just that. To absolutely give that fucking shot right after they take the titles from the AEW talent FTR. Because that's something Paul 3H's Levesque would do. But that situation happened last night. That actually happened, and we're going to jump much more into that for our opening story. Coming up in a few minutes, I am going to talk AEW Dynamite as well. This is a show where a lot of you guys might think that BC is going to praise this show because there was a lot of action, good matches, and the crowd was electric from nearly top to bottom, right? But you might be shocked if you're a tried and true channel member or just watcher, viewer of the channel. You should not be shocked what BC is about to say. If you're a new subscriber and you think I'm going to be ultra positive about this show, you got another thing coming because you did have a lot of action. You had some good matches for sure. And the crowd was basically having an orgasm the entire night, right? But if this was just a live event, if this was a house show in Denver, this was a great show. But it wasn't just that. This was a television show. And as a television show, once again, and this is a common problem in pro wrestling, especially in WWE for Monday Night Raw, and it leaks into Wednesday nights for AEW. It's a common problem. As a television show, when it's all said and done, mostly, if not all of it, has done nothing for everybody. Or let me flip it. For everybody, it has done nothing going forward. That's what this show did. This show did nothing. What do I mean, right? BC will explain everything coming up. If this was a house show last night for Denver, it was incredible. It was not. It was a television show. A show that you can chant everything you want if you're there live. This is awesome. Fight forever. Holy shit. You can chant everything. You cannot sit down once in the night because you're consumed with so much action and you're having the time of your life. You will never go back and watch last night again. You will never go back and watch one of those matches. You just won't. You'll forget about it in a week, 3 days. Maybe you have already forgotten about it. Unless BC's about to review it as he is, and then you'll recollect some memories from last night, but you'll never go back. It's not truly awesome, right? But today in 2022, fans are just, our attention spans are so small, so short. We're like cats, right? And we're getting a little toy dangled in front of us, and like cats, we're jumping at it, and we're so consumed with this toy because it's all over the place, and then when we get bored and it's over with, playtime is done, and then we just fucking take our nap and we forget about it. We wake up the next day and we're on to the fucking next toy, right? We're on to our new toy. What's the next toy? I'm done with that one. That's what we do in 2022. Pro wrestling fans or just anybody. Our attention spans are just so fucking small. So short. So we just want instant gratification. Just put out the bangers and we'll chant all the chants. And it'll act like it's the fucking best thing on television. But the ratings will not reflect that. Our recollection a week from now will not resonate that was an awesome card from top to bottom. No. And again, BC is going to explain why as a live event for Denver, this was a great show, Dynamite last night. As a television show, this was an epic fail. BC is going to explain everything. And from the jump, before I even get into it, I'm not even going to keep you guys hanging on the Wardlow talk, right? That's the biggest thing coming out of last night. The biggest talking point is if Wardlow was buried last night. And that's never a good thing after 2 hours live. Your biggest talking point in your community is if you're one of your top or should be one of your top superstars has been buried. That's when you know something did not go accordingly last night. And the fans are at war with one another. No, it happened beautifully. The story is perfect. You guys just don't understand. And then you have the other fans like, dude, this is not how you book Wardlow, though. There's better ways to book him with better storytelling. And those fans are just at one another. Let me put this topic to rest, if you don't mind. Okay, Wardlow wasn't buried last night because he was already ruined. Tony Khan doesn't know how to book Wardlow, guys. He's already ruined. I don't know if I want to use the word buried, and even if I did, you can always come back from a burial. Being buried doesn't mean you can never come back. It just means that the promoter has absolutely buried you, and it's going to take 10 times the work just to unbury you now. And there's no reason for the promoter to dig their own hole. There's no reason for the promoter to back themselves into a corner to the point where they have to work double, triple, 10 times as hard to get somebody over when the momentum is already there with them. You know, we just saw Paul 3H's Levesque do this with Austin Theory. Why work 10 times harder for what was supposed to be a reset, right? A repackaging of Austin Theory, which was bullshit. All he did was he put down his cell phone and he got a little bit more meaner. He's throwing a temper tantrum now. It's the same Austin Theory, guys. He's running away. He's talking about we're all jealous because he looks better and he's the greatest wrestler. It's the same Austin Theory, just a little bit more temper tantrum. He put down the cell phone and he picked up a green jacket. That's why you had to ruin the Money in the Bank briefcase concept. That's why you had to fucking embarrass Austin Theory. Because still to this day, as much as we want to see the best for Austin Theory, the truth, guys, is a lot of people like BC cannot comprehend. Every time we see him in the ring, we cannot let go of the fact of what just happened with Money in the Bank. We still can't forget that, and we can't fully believe in this kid yet. And this is what I mean. You're working 10 times as hard for fans like BC. Why would you have to do that, man? I mean, if you truly wanted to repackage this kid, there was a billion ways to do it that would have been a billion times better than what 3H's produced. You know, the truth is, Paul Levesque knew that he created a monumental botch of epic proportions, so he had to go into damage control. And I'm not talking about that weak-ass mid-act in WWE. Even though Bailey, Io, and Dakota together should be something epic in WWE, no, Paul Levesque cannot be bothered by giving them good booking. I'm talking about the type of damage control that happens when you know you fucked up monumentally, and that's what Paul Levesque did. He knew that he turned Money in the Bank into a joke. He turned Austin Theory into an embarrassing sideshow act. And for most of us fans like BC, we can't take the dude seriously right now. It's going to take a long time, and there was no reason for that. And there's some fans that are okay with it. It's all right, man. It was all done, even though everything was done so poorly, even though Money in the Bank is a joke now, even though we're never truly going to forget that. It was all done in the faith of repackaging. Now he's in H's vision. No, this was done so badly that people like BC just can't forget about it. We're not going to just fucking hop into the realm of believability that this dude is now Super Theory. It's not going to happen. It was done that badly. And this is why booking matters. How you do things matters. It's about the journey just as much as the destination. This is why. So, no, we're not just going to fucking hop on anything that H is presenting us. And by the way, Austin Theory was never a Triple H guy, guys. Just because he was in NXT, you have to remember, he was on the list that he was gladly handing over to Vince when Vince wanted talent. He was on the list with Lacey Evans and others, right? There was a list where H just did not want to give up certain people. Not on that list was Theory, Lacey Evans, and others. He was gladly willing to give them to Vince with the quickness. And when Vince, it just wasn't working, he sent Theory back to NXT, guys. And Triple H, Paul Levesque, sent him right back to Vince. If you need any more proof, look at how Theory, his whole 2 different stints in NXT. Look how he was booked in NXT. You don't need BC to tell you that he was never a Triple H guy, quote unquote. He never was. Look at how he was booked and look how fast H was willing to give him to Vince twice. You don't need BC to tell you that, man. This is obviously something that Vince still wants. Vince still wants this guy booked to the moon and told Paul Levesque to do that. And Paul Levesque botched it epically. So now you have Vince and fucking 3H's trying to push this guy, and it just isn't working. You may like the repackaged Theory better, that's fine. The point is you should have, not could have, you should have done this a billion times better. It's just, I think we know that by now. Anyway, my point is that we've seen that with that, right? Over in AEW, you see that time and time again with so many acts. Wardlow is just one of many. It's funny that last night, the fans are just fucking at war with one another. He's not buried. If you just watch carefully, this is going to lead to something really cool storyline-wise. And then you have the fans that are like, what are you talking about? Last night was fucking silly. Darby Allin and fucking Samoa Joe is what it's setting up. And what are we going to get? A more vicious Wardlow? Why not just book him properly throughout his fucking 2022? Why would you work 10 times harder? And I agree with those fans. Everybody's at war saying Wardlow was buried last night. No, he wasn't. This is going to lead to a better Wardlow and a better storyline. Guys, he wasn't buried last night. I agree. He already was ruined. He was ruined. Guys, in 2022, it was clear Tony Khan did not know how to book Wardlow or just did not want to book him properly, did not want to utilize the momentum that Wardlow had on 3 separate occasions. And it is absolute viciously criminal booking by Tony Khan and how he booked Wardlow. You don't have to just look at last night, guys, to see that he was ruined. And again, that doesn't mean you can't come out. I'm not even saying buried, by the way. But even if I use that word, it doesn't mean you can't come out of a burial. It just means the promoter has done everything to try to suppress your momentum, to literally try to bury your momentum, to bury you in most cases. And Wardlow in 2022, no matter how many times we told the dude, hey, you have something here, give him the rocket and let's see where he goes, Tony Khan does everything to put the top on that lid of boiling water. He simmers that shit down. He covers it. He smothers that momentum. So I won't use the word buried for Wardlow, but I'll absolutely use the word ruined, because now you're just going to have to work 10 times as hard to try to fucking get Wardlow into any honorable status that we can really get behind and not remember or try to forget the horrendous 2022 that he's had. Last night he gets clipped by a steel pipe. And then he hobbles around some of the match. In the other match, he's walking fine, the other half of the match with Samoa Joe. And then at the end, after he powerbombs Samoa Joe just fine, walking around the ring, powerbombs Joe, and then he goes to do it again and his leg gives out because he was hit by a pipe earlier. He gets fucking passed out by Joe. Literally passes out by Samoa Joe. And then afterwards, he's sympathetic to Joe. Joe's looking at him like he wants to shake his hand, and Wardlow's like, respect, man. How are you going to show this dude respect when he hits you with a steel pipe? And Wardlow's looking at him like, man, you got me. Good job. And then Samoa Joe's like, what a geek. And he fucking hits him with a steel title. What steel title? With the fucking championship, the TNT championship. Hits him right in the fucking head for being a fucking dweeb. Like, after all I did to you, you're still going to shake my hand? You fucking... How are you not trying to fucking tackle me with one leg at that point? And then afterwards, he grabs scissors. Samoa Joe cuts his ponytail. And everyone's like, oh, this is going to lead to a shaved head, badass Wardlow. Okay. You cannot just book him proper. Why do we have to make him... Why do wrestlers have to hit rock bottom to be repackaged or come back more fierce? Here's a crazy concept. If they're already rocking with a bunch of momentum like Wardlow did 3 separate times in 2022, why not utilize the momentum and make it easier on yourself? Tony Khan doesn't know what the fuck he's doing, or he just doesn't want to push Wardlow properly. But for those saying that he's buried, those that are trying to deny that, okay, you might be fucking with the word buried. Maybe that's what you don't like, but he's still fucking ruined. Doesn't mean he can't come back, but now you have to work 10 times as hard. Now you have to make fans like BC try to fucking forget all of the bullshit in 2022. Not even being used half the time. 40% of the time only used on Rampage. And then when he's on Dynamite, just fucking try. If it wasn't around MJF. And that's another thing, right? He was beating the fuck out of everybody, handcuffed for a while. You remember that? That was the whole character of Wardlow. He's so badass, he can beat you up without even fucking arms. I mean, he's handcuffed, beating the fuck out of security and wrestlers. And last night, he's got a whole leg and both arms, and he just can't overcome anything. He's so hobbled. I mean, it's 50-50 booking in your own creative. Which is it? Is he the fucking beast, the monster that you presented at one point 4 different times and 4 different times ruined? Or is he just a normal dude? If you take out a limb, he's done. Because I've seen him beat up people handcuffed, and then I've seen him fucking just pass out when he had one leg. Actually, during the match, he had both fucking legs. The selling by Wardlow wasn't exactly on. You know, I mean, you could have fucking hobbled around the match much more. Like when he had Samoa Joe up for that first powerbomb and he actually utilized it, he was walking fine, man. I'm like, fucking, you know, I know he's a big dude, so you got to protect him. So maybe if he tried to waddle, maybe he would drop Joe. I don't know, but it just looks stupid. That's what I mean, man. This is why I say I'm the best critic you're going to find in this community. I may be the harshest. You may not like that. I understand. But you'll continue to watch because you know you're going to get the absolute truth here on this channel. You're not going to get sugar-coated bullshit. Even if it's not what you want to hear, right? You may be a diehard AEW fan or a diehard WWE fan, and BC just starts going harsh on the show, but you understand it's coming from a pure place. I love pro wrestling. I want to see all these companies succeed. But I have to call this type of shit out, not just for the fans to hear so we know better, but it's for the wrestlers. I know a lot of wrestlers watch this channel. Salute to all you guys, man, and gals. Salute. Much respect. Much love and respect to every wrestler or wrestler in training that watches this channel. I hope you guys take my words so it makes you better going forward. That's the whole hope here, man. I know pro wrestling. It's in my blood. I've been in that fucking ring, but I've studied it. While everybody else watched pro wrestling, probably since they were a young kid, BC always studied wrestling since I was a young kid. Straight out of the womb, basically. So, you know, that's why I always say it's not a pat on the back. It's not ego. It's not all ego, BC, all ego, Ethan Page. It's fucking just facts, man. I study wrestling differently. I dissect it differently, and that's what makes me the best critic, I believe. And I know you guys feel the same way. It's because I'm not going to sugarcoat this shit, man. I'm not going to bullshit you guys or these wrestlers. The type of selling in that match and the lack of good booking for Wardlow. The lack of creativity that went into this, yes, that's not good. I agree with the fans that say Wardlow is completely fucking ruined. That doesn't mean he can't come back, right? And when he does, everyone's going to go, see, he wasn't ruined. No, he is. He absolutely is. Now you have to work 10 times harder to try to resurrect him. And all for what? This leads to, at the end of the show, Darby Allin and Samoa Joe, by the way. Are you really that excited? Is that what you're talking about with your friends at school? Or if you're a grown-up and you're around the water cooler, you left your cubicle, you went to take a piss, you're at the water cooler, and you're talking about how excited you are to see Darby and Samoa, which ended Dynamite. That's your big cliffhanger. And Wardlow got his ponytail cut off. Great booking for Wardlow. He'll come back as a shaved head Goldberg Austin badass, basically. And before I go over Dynamite and more of Dragon Lee signing with WWE immediately after fucking defeating FTR AEW talent for titles, before I go over that in depth, one more thing, man. People are talking about CM Punk and Dax. Dax pleaded for CM Punk and AEW to just sit down, talk it all over like adults, shake hands. And according to Dax, we can change the wrestling business if we can just do that. And CM Punk responded, duh. Phil Brooks just responded, duh. Like, we already know that, man. Of course we could change the wrestling. Guys, I don't think anybody's understanding. We're not having the right discussion. Everyone's just picking sides and talking about something that's irrelevant. Let's just stick to the point. Phil Brooks back in AEW does what? What? We've already seen the experiment. The ratings do not budge that much at all. In fact, I say this all the time. Until they moved him to Q1, which BC told Tony Khan to do for months, MJF was your highest rating draw. They moved him to Q1, and then he started pulling in some ratings. But overall, they could not consistently knock 1 million until Punk was gone, by the way, and the whole turmoil, and then they started hitting it consistently week after week. But Punk did not bring the ratings that Khan thought that he was going to, or Punk thought he was going to. So ratings wise, he's not the biggest draw. Khan was hoping for much farther. And on top of that, even worse, a lot of the locker room, and from what we heard, most of the locker room just did not take to Punk. There's just a disconnect. They saw through the bullshit. And then you have guys like Dax, which he even admits Phil Brooks took them all out to eat. You know, it's one of those people that, you know, I'm going to try to, I'll buy you off. I'm going to take you out to eat. I'm going to pay for it. I'm going to be the hot shot. I'm going to show you that I'm a locker room guy, you know, and he got some people that really bought into it. Like Dax is all in with Phil Brooks. Dax is fucking defending this guy till the fucking cows come home. It's actually kind of funny. You know, and then you just have the rest of the locker room that was just like, no, I don't know what the fuck this dude's thing was, but we were not getting the vibes 24/7. He would have his moments. He would try to take us out to eat. He would buy the females in the locker room Starbucks gift cards, right? He tried to do, you know, the money can only take you so far. Phil Brooks is the hot shot trying to play with all the money. But it's about what you do in the interactions with the majority of that locker room 24/7 or while you're there. And the locker room, most of them stepped up and said, nah, bro, this dude caused a lot of shit. Chris Jericho is not going to let him back anyway. And Chris Jericho is the locker room leader right now. And Jericho is not high on what Phil Brooks brought to the table or lack thereof. Jericho is not happy with that. Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, and Jericho is not part of the Elite, by the way. Two separate fucking entities there. But the Elite was just not buying any of Punk's shit. And then a lot of people started filtering afterwards like, yeah, dude, this guy he caused a lot of turmoil, whether it was consciously or subconsciously. Whether he's actually a good dude and he's just at a bad place still in life, or he just is a douche. But whatever the reason is, it was not happening, man. There was the lack of gel. And it was a problem to the point where it finally reached its boiling point at the AEW All Out Media Scrum. So my point, guys, is what do you think bringing him back is going to do? And the lead people all shake hands and come to an agreement. All right, let's be better people. It's still going to be the same Phil Brooks in pro wrestling. I just don't think there's a connection there anymore. I don't think Phil Brooks is happy in pro wrestling. I don't. And I think after a while, once he starts taking the beatings and taking the bumps and the bruises, I think he just becomes even more pissed off and angry. I mean, he said it in the all-out scrum. In the media scrum, he said, I'm fucking old, I'm fucking grumpy, I'm beat up. You know, he was telling you, I'm just not fucking having it right now. And this is a guy who was only back for 1 year at that point. I don't understand what you guys think Brooks is going to bring ratings-wise, numbers-wise, to the locker room, the fucking morale in the locker room, who we have heard has been best since Phil Brooks has been gone. What do you think, how much higher you think that's going to go if Brooks comes back? And what do you expect out of Brooks? Brooks has been back for 1 year. Brooks has had two huge injuries, guys. Two huge injuries. And throughout the year, he's been telling you how beat up and bruised he's been. So, I mean, this guy is just, his body can't even take pro wrestling anymore. I don't understand those fans that just are aching for a Brooks comeback. I don't know what you guys are expecting, and I don't know why you would want to see Phil Brooks beat the shit out of himself and destroy his body even more. It's the same thing I say about Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy's a different case, obviously. But it's like you get to a point where you're just destroying your body so much that mentally you're just checking out. At that point, I think it's best if Brooks just takes that's it. That's it. It's not happening in AEW. I don't see how that's going to work to be beneficial to everybody. I don't. So I don't even know why we're having this conversation of Brooks ever coming back to AEW. I think it's best. This was obviously a marriage that did not work, and sometimes divorce is the only option. And I understand it should be the last option, but sometimes it's the only fucking option. So that's all I'm going to say about that, man. I think we're having the wrong conversation. People have to understand what happened with Phil Brooks and why sometimes it's best to just walk away. Now, before I get into the Dynamite, man, BC just has a lot to say, man. There's a lot of big topics, and they need to be discussed correctly, man. There's so many podcasts you can go to in this community. There's 100 podcasts, and well, more than that. But there's several that you can go to be entertained or to get good opinions. But you know, there's only one where we can discuss facts like this, and it just happens to be BC's podcast. But we have to talk about this factually, all of this stuff. And I want to go back to the Dragon Lee situation, man. I'm just literally befuddled about how this could how can Tony Khan allow, and this is what happens when you start opening up forbidden doors. You're opening yourself up to be burned. When you play in a heated kitchen like that, and you're cooking in that hot kitchen, and you got 27 stoves going, don't be so shocked when you get burned. And Tony Khan got burned, man. He took his talent. They weren't going to be on Dynamite anyway, let's be honest. FTR, the last 2 times they were on Dynamite as a tag team, in a tag team match, traditional tag team, they lost against the Acclaim. They lost another one against the Gun Club, Austin and Colt. And I can't remember the last time they won a traditional tag match on Dynamite. I mean, so FTR is not used correctly by Tony Khan. They're not even used by Tony Khan. So he just throws them over to ROH. He throws them over to the fucking AAA. He throws them over with the IWGP Championship. Anything else, get out of my fucking hair, you know? He's like the fucking parents that don't want anything to do with their fucking... They just want some alone time, right? Telling their kids to go to their room, go play. FTR is a non-factor on Dynamite. We know that. So here we are on Dynamite, and FTR is nowhere to be found. But they're not just at catering like they usually are. No, they're actually over defending their AAA tag titles. And Tony Khan must have known that they're dropping the titles. So you have Dragon Lee takes these fucking titles, and after he takes the titles from FTR, Dragon Lee actually says... He gives a little bit of a promo thanking everybody and saying we're doing it for Mexico and WWE, here we go. He announces that he's coming to WWE moments after defeating AEW Tag Team FTR. And FTR loses the championships. You know it's going to be a hot story. And Paul 3H's Levesque capitalizes and says, let's make this about WWE. He probably told this dude to say that. But either way, whether he was told to say, I'm going to WWE or not, Paul Levesque and WWE social media jumped on this at midnight, guys. It was at 11 o'clock when it was broke by WWE and NXT.com and social sites. Triple H at midnight posted his own thing about Dragon Lee. It is not often. They do not do that, guys. Usually it's the next day or business hours, if you will. And WWE will release this type of stuff. Paul Levesque at midnight is not going to be sending this shit out. No, they wanted the headlines not to be about FTR. And they had enough with the whole ROH thing. The FTR and the Briscoes had all the headlines for their ROH dog collar match, a double dog collar. And Levesque was not going to let that happen again, man. So he broke the news, and now everybody was talking about Dragon Lee going to WWE. Now, BC's not going to fucking... BC's not going to act like I'm a Dragon Lee fan by any means. The dude's got uber talent. It's going to remain to be seen what they do with him. I don't trust 3H's with his booking. I don't. I think it's only a matter of time before he gets a name change. He'll probably come in as fucking Doug Leotard. Coming down the aisle, Doug Leotard, right? Douglas Leotard will be Dragon Lee. I don't know. And he'll be booked losing to fucking Elias one week, and then he beats Baron Corbin. That's right. They're going to mix up the brands anyway. They don't have a brand split. He'll be 50-50 booked. I mean, I don't have high hopes, but I didn't give a fuck if he signed with AEW or WWE because it's going to be one of the same. None of them want to build any fucking stars because when somebody becomes a fucking star, Tony Khan rips the rug from underneath their feet. And in WWE, they don't even allow you to become a star these days. They don't want you to be bigger than the company. So Tony Khan and Paul 3H's Levesque, it's like Tweedledee and Tweedledum, right? Dumb and Dumber. Dueling dummies, I call them. Both of them fail to really captivate on stars that could be being created. They fail to do such. So I don't give a fuck where Dragon Lee shows up. I just want him to be booked correctly, and I have my doubts with either promotion. So I'm not going to act like I'm a fucking fan. I hope to become one in the future. I know he's got uber talent. I've seen his matches, many, so many, and I know what he's capable of. I hope promo-wise there's more of a connection. I hope storyline-wise there's a connection, and I hope they give him a chance via proper booking. But to act like this isn't a massive story, right? It's not about Dragon Lee signing with WWE. No, that alone would not have everybody talking at midnight. All of WWE's social media team, WWE.com, Triple H is posting at midnight. No. That could have waited the next day, even if he mentioned WWE on his own, right? Because you could say, well, BC, they had to say that because he already mentioned it and they didn't want that out yet. No, they would have just waited till fucking 8, 9 a.m., man. Wait till the business hours. You would admit, WWE went in an all-out blitz here, bro. They did not want you talking about FTR at all, or they just wanted you to... H honestly wanted to burn Tony Khan in AEW. He literally wanted, especially with a sticker, right? There's an FTR sticker on the title. And here this dude is saying, I'm going to after taking FTR's title, AEW's tag team, he says, I'm going to WWE, let's do this. Please, you think that didn't make fucking 3H's smile from ear to ear? H knows what he's doing, man. 3H's, the apple does not fall far from the tree. This dude is fucking ruthless. Like McMahon, and he does not want to work or do anything or even see or hear about AEW. And if he's got a chance to take a fucking potty shot, he's taking that shit. Now, whether you guys agree with that or not, that's in the eye of the beholder. All is fair in love and war anyway. So BC doesn't feel one way or the other about it. I just think, it's one of those shocking things, you know. Is it quite up there with Lex Luger showing up on the first WCW Nitro after he had a handshake deal with Vince? Is it up there with Rick Rude being on Nitro and WWE on the same night? Maybe not to that level, but it's still, when you love behind the scenes of pro wrestling and when you follow everything that's happening, all the integral parts, not just on the shows, it's still shocking to see how this could have came about. Like, how did we get here? Why does FTR have AAA tag titles when they're AEW talent? Because we opened up forbidden doors. How did we get to a point where instead of utilizing them on your main show, Dynamite, because you never do, instead they're over there defending titles in another fucking promotion somewhere else? And how did we get to the point where the people that they dropped the titles to turn around moments later and say, we're working with WWE? This is horrible for Tony Khan, bro. This makes you look so amateur. This makes you look so fucking bad. And if there's anybody out there that doesn't see it that way, hey, eye of the beholder, man. I know what I fucking viewed. I know how this all looks. Optics are everything. Perception becomes reality when it's this fucking vivid. I honestly cannot believe it, man. I can't believe that Tony Khan would allow this to happen, and I truly believe the dude, no matter what he says, I honestly believe the dude did not know at all that Dragon Lee signed with WWE, and he just had his talent over there doing whatever fucking AAA needed them to do. You need them to drop the titles? You want to take the titles? That's fine. And it renders it I believe that they forfeited the titles right after. I believe, guys. I'm going to do more research. But I believe that they dropped the fucking titles right after they won it. And if that's the case, then this was all rendered. So why would FTR lose them to them on that night, right when Dragon Lee announces his WWE signing? Why would... None of it makes sense. And I truly... If Tony Khan knew any of this, he wouldn't have even sent FTR. But there's Dragon Lee. He's got the FTR sticker right there. Dax responded by saying, cool sticker on the title. So you could tell Dax was kind of chapped by this. Dax is like, well, yeah, our sticker is still on that, buddy. You know what I mean? But for H, he's loving that. He's like, exactly. And now it's owned by him, and he works for me. You know, and then you got to wonder, is FTR fucking WWE bound in April anyway? Their contracts are up. They just lost the ROH championships. They just lost the AAA championships. They're on a losing streak as a tag team in AEW. Lost against the Acclaimed. Lost against the Gun Club. The last time they won an AEW Dynamite traditional tag match, I can't even remember. They only have a couple during the whole year of 2022. Traditional tag matches. Most of the time, they're just one-on-ones or fucking 10-man tags, 6-man tags. This is the shittiest booking you can do for a tag team that had all the momentum in the world. It's almost like Tony Khan is deliberately sabotaging them. Does he know something we don't? Is FTR WWE bound? In which case, H is going to win every which way around and take everybody from Tony Khan. And then we have to have another discussion. Is this really going to help Triple H having more and more fucking talent? More and more talent. It's only going to sink your ship. Look at who you have now and book them correctly. Triple H has a mountain of problems booking his own talent, and he keeps bringing more and more people in. Where the fuck do you fit Dragon Lee? We've seen this problem with Tony Khan. He has over 100 individuals on his roster, and he doesn't know where to fit them. And now you have an issue where people are actually calling him out on not being utilized properly or not being used at all, like Miro and so many others, waiting by the phone, but they're not getting work. And they're starting to speak out. And Tony Khan recently did an interview where he said, yeah, I smile at that because you don't hear backup players in the NFL complain to their coach that they're not being used. You don't hear backup players in the NBA complain. So he's calling the people frustrated, his own talent. He's calling them backup players. This guy just doesn't get it. Stop signing everybody and use who you have. Give them a proper chance. He doesn't understand, man. And we're starting to see more and more of that. And last night, same exact thing, right? Dynamite. I think we've talked so much about everything else. Let's talk about Dynamite because I watched the full show. I did my due diligence. I got all my notes, and I'm ready to talk about a show that the crowd, if this was a live event, this was incredible. The crowd was just into it from top to bottom, almost. Of course, AEW fans especially, they just don't like women's wrestling. WWE is the same. Here in North America, something about women's wrestling doesn't connect. It's sad, actually. It's very sad. But AEW, the one time they sat on their ass the whole match, it was a tag team match for the women last night. Everything else, they gave it a real chance. They loved it. They were on their feet. If this was a house show, this was beautifully done. The problem is this was not just a house show. This was a television show. And after a television show, a 2-hour live pro wrestling television show, you're hoping that you have a bunch of storylines that have you on the edge of your seat, that you're captivated by, you're intrigued, you have to tune in next week. And when Dynamite went off the air, the truth, guys, is that you did not have that. Don't believe me? Let's go over it. Let's talk about everything from the fans' reaction to the good banger matches to what it results to, what it leads to, what you're excited about. Let's talk about it and let's see how wrong BC is. Let's start from the very jump, right? We go right into a match, right? So there's no cliffhanger to even lead you through the night. We always talk about cliffhangers at the end of the night to make you have to tune in next week, right? Not you just want to tune in next week, you have to. That's a cliffhanger. But there's also, I tell you guys, the opening of the show is sometimes just as, if not more important than the ending, because you want to captivate your audience for the rest of the show. So you set up a really good storyline from the jump, and you keep going back to it throughout the night, and then it culminates at the end of the night, and if you do it correctly, you leave a cliffhanger for next week, and so on to the pay-per-view. No cliffhanger to start the show. To lead, no pop storyline to keep you going throughout the night. We just go right into a match, Bryan Danielson versus All Ego Ethan Page. This is, by the way, AEW New Year's Smash Dynamite 12/28/22. Danielson versus All Ego Ethan Page starts the show. Page continues to get real, genuine heat, and that is a good sight to see, man. That's really, it's, there's two types of heats. There's the heat that we just don't want to see you. There's no connection. And then there's the heat where, dude, it's fun to have you in there because we gonna wreck you. So it's really good to see Paige get that type of reaction. Stokely Hathaway was hilarious, coming out with a baseball cap after Bryan asked him if he can even grow hair last week. So now Stokely comes out with a baseball cap. Pretty fucking good. MJF is up in a skybox up high watching the show. He says he found the only beautiful girl in Denver or Colorado. I think he said the whole state. He's got a beautiful girl up there with him. So MJF is watching from a skybox. This was a 16-minute match ending with the American Dragon defeating All Ego via pass-out submission. Again, 16 minutes, bro. It was a pretty good match, no question. The crowd made it seem like we were watching Seth Rollins versus Randy the Macho Man Savage, bro. The crowd was reacting like you were watching Savage and Rollins. It was a pretty good match, no question. If you ever went back and really watched it to dissect it and not just listen to the crowd, it was nothing above just good. But this is awesome fucking twice. The crowd was with it. That's why I say if this was a house show, man, they were having the time of their lives. But it's a television show, as I said. So now we have to look at what does this do for everybody going forward, right? Nothing. When Bryan defeated All Ego, he looks up to the skybox. MJF is like, how dare you beat All Ego? And Bryan's like, yeah, one day it's you, buddy. And then we just cut backstage or to a commercial, one of the two. That was it. That's what I mean about see what I mean, guys? House show, I get it, right? And if you're just tuning into this just for bangers and just action, right? Because, I mean, that's a lot of wrestling fans, I guess, just want to see action. They don't care about storylines. They don't care about epicness. They don't care about captivation. They're just like, put on cool moves. Just go in there, wrestler A, wrestler B, and just do a bunch of shit, and I'll yell all the chants, and I'll be so excited for 16 minutes. And then I'll have a drink, I'll take a piss, and then I'll come back, and we'll do it again with other wrestlers. But wrestling is founded more, it should be anyway, it's founded upon much more than that. You know, it's creating larger-than-life characters, storylines that captivate, feuds that we're on the edge of our seat for. I mean, that's what wrestling used to give us. If you're telling me that this all-ego Bryan Danielson match, and then post-match, he looks up at MJF looks at, and that was it. You're telling me that excites you. I don't see how that's the best way to utilize MJF versus Bryan Danielson in the future. Like, you're setting up that match. How is that the best Tony Khan can offer? Your world champion MJF is used just up in a skybox. And he's shown on camera a couple of times. Just looking down at Bryan Danielson. How does that excite your audience? We bitch about this in WWE when it's done. We have to do that with AEW, guys. We have to stay consistent and fair. You could have done more. And this was just so... There was a guy in the crowd. It was hilarious. He goes, lazy booking, TK. Throughout the night, he just said lazy booking. And that's because Tony Khan's got a roster of over 100 people, and most are good wrestlers, if not great. So he knows he can just put together a whole 2 hours of just bangers. And it's lazy booking. He knows he could do that every fucking week. But to get creative, to get your fans like BC to be invested and intrigued and excited, that's another level of creativity. That's another level of care that you have to tap into. This did not do it from the jump. So I understand the crowd was hot. Denver was electric. Total fucking orgasm. I get it. But BC is a critic of pro wrestling, like a real one. And the way I dissect this shit, you're gonna get every type of critique from it, man, as far as where it goes for the future. What is happening? What's it leading to? How are you feeling about it? Is this the best they can do? Is this even above average? No. MJF and Bryan Danielson, the story that they told last night to lead to their eventual match, this was as mid as could possibly be, if not below average. So then you go into the next segments, right? It's a couple of backstage segments. Backstage, Wardlow is attacked by Samoa Joe. And this is because Tony Khan set up Samoa Joe versus Wardlow for later in the night. And he's like, fuck, I did set that up, didn't I? Well, I don't have a way for this to go. So how do I make I'm not having Wardlow win, right? Because Tony Khan just doesn't do that. So I gotta make him save face a little bit. Let's make it look like he's got one leg and he overcame all the obstacles and almost beat Joe. Let's go with that story, right? So that's what he did. Backstage, Wardlow is attacked by Samoa Joe during an interview. Joe takes out Wardlow's knee with a steel pipe. Okay. And we'll get... So now, the whole night, we're asking now, like, is Wardlow even going to be able to compete? Well, what are you talking about? We saw this guy take out fucking half the roster and everybody involved with security with no hands. His hands were fucking handcuffed, no arms. So did you really doubt that he wasn't going to hobble with one fucking leg down? I mean, we used to see a wrestler, Zach Gowen, wrestle with one leg. I don't think anybody was... It's not that suspenseful. We knew what was going to happen. Samoa Joe was going to win, and they were just going to use this as like oh man, he did his very best with one leg. But okay, we'll play that scenario. Then we go into a Hangman Page, and we'll go over that match. That was in the main event, guys. We'll go over all the lead out, the fallout afterwards. Hangman Page is then backstage told by AEW docs that if he continues to follow concussion protocol, he could be cleared in 2 weeks, just in time for AEW's big LA Dynamite show. I think that's like January 11th. So Hangman Page will be coming back soon. Okay, so we got a couple backstage segments. Again, so far we're half an hour into the show, and there's nothing epic, right? You got a good match, between Paige and Danielson. As far as Danielson and MJF and their potential match coming up, there was no storyline development that was intriguing or exciting at all. They looked at each other. One's in a skybox, one just beat All Ego. And they looked at each other. That was it, guys. That's the best you got from MJF and Bryan Danielson. And then we just led into Wardlow being attacked by a steel pipe, and Hangman is told that he can come back in 2 weeks if he does everything correct. Okay, all right. Nothing horrible here. But nothing that's like next level, nothing we're going to go back and watch. So let's go into the second of 4 half an hours last night. The second half of hour number 1. Mox and Claudio taking on Top Flight. 14-minute match. I don't know why and on what planet it would take 14 minutes for Mox and Claudio to beat the fucking Martin brothers. To beat the Martins, it took 14 minutes for Mox and Claudio. You can't make it up. Can't do it. But it took 14 minutes. It was a good match, though, right? I know, BC, it showcased the Martins. It showcased Top Flight. I get it, man. And BC, I mean, you got to commend you got to commend what Mox and Claudio is doing for the younger talent. Guys, I get all that. You can't, in the process, diminish your own value, though. This is Mox, former champion, twice over in the past 4 months, and fucking Claudio. These are fucking ass-kicking destroyers. And just last week, it took like fucking 10 minutes for Mox to even try to beat, who was it? Darius, I think. I don't even think it was fucking Dante. I think it was Darius. And Mox just could not beat this dude up front. And then this week it's 14 minutes, and I'm just like, okay, I get it's a good match, right? We can get great matches in any fucking promotion these days. Every wrestler can do every flip and dive and make you go, ooh, this is awesome. Every wrestler can do that these days. I get it. You can go to the local bingo hall, and Danny Dipshit Dugenheimer and Fuckwad Fred will put on a fucking 65-minute classic. Luigi Lugnuts will be the special guest referee. It'll be electric. I understand we got a good match. I understand the Martins are trying to be put on the map. Meanwhile, you got guys like fucking Lance Archers and Miro and so many others, man. The Brian Cages and so many others that just can't get fucking proper TV time. Or when they do, then they're on fucking Rampage for 4 weeks and then not used for 2 months, and then they show up on Dynamite for a week. But we're going to fucking put on the fucking Daniel Garcias and the Martins and the Wheeler Utahs. You know, I don't understand Tony Khan in his philosophy. Why not just build people? Instead, once they start to catch some momentum, they get taken off the fucking show. If the Martins start to catch momentum, they're going to be taken off the show anyway. I just don't like to see people like Mox and Claudio. I mean, watch this match. I mean, you have Claudio like 3 times like in shock that he didn't win. You got to save that shit for pay-per-views when you're in there with other main event level players, man. Now I'm going to remember that, right? Claudio taking on fucking, we just saw Jericho at the ROH, but Claudio versus, what if you ever do Claudio and Mox in the future, right? One of them turns, whatever. You know, and you have, it's in the 18th, 19th minute, and Claudio is in awe that he couldn't beat Mox on a certain move. I'm going to remember that, he just did that at 14 minutes with fucking Dante and Darius. This is what I mean, guys. Everything matters to BC. I don't forget this type of shit, and I don't let it slide because I suspend the disbelief. I enter the crazy, wacky, ludicrous world of pro wrestling, and I love it. I suspend the disbelief, and I enter the wacky world of pro wrestling. But you got to meet me halfway. It all has to make sense. I'll even do Supernatural. I love Supernatural when done correctly, like with people like Bray Wyatt and even House of Black. Obviously, Undertaker, even Papo Shango, all of it, man. I'll suspend all of it, man. Just meet me halfway, right? Tell me a reason why this supernatural shit makes sense. So I'll believe any of it. But make me believe, meet me halfway. That's all I ask. You know, I mean, if you're trying to put out these bangers and these wild false finishes with the fucking Martins, how are people like BC going to forget that when he's in there with another top-level player near the 20-minute mark, and he's in awe that he didn't win? Well, how are you in awe? You couldn't even beat the fucking Martins. It took you nearly 15 minutes. I hope you guys understand, man. This is why you can't just go out there and make everybody look like $1 million because you're the superstar. It's the way that you do it. I'm all for the veterans helping out the younger dude, and they have to. But I just told you guys a few minutes earlier, the journey is just as important as the destination, sometimes even more important. How did you get there? How did you help the younger talent? You know, for a lot of fans, you're okay. No harm, no foul. You'll forget this anyway. For people like BC, man, I'm like, wow, Mox and Claudio cannot beat these motherfuckers. I mean, they're supposed to be legit badasses. I've seen them take out main level talent quicker than that. That's my issue with it. Was it a good match? Of course. This is what I mean. If this is a house show or something, man, the crowd was on their feet. I'm telling you, man, good match, pretty fun. The crowd, just like I said for Bryan Danielson and All Ego, you would have thought you were watching Randy Savage versus Seth Rollins. For this tag team match, you would have thought you were seeing FTR versus the Hart Foundation. You had, this is awesome. You had, holy shit. All we were missing was fight forever, and I think we got that in the very next match. But, I mean, Denver just showed up to do all the chants. And BC was watching a good match. But why we have to go ballistic and act like it's anything more than that, man? I was watching the same match as everybody else. It was good. It was a fun match. Right? Now let's go to what I just said about Danielson and Ethan Page. What does it do for TV? What does it do for going forward? The cliffhangers, the suspense. What's captivating you, right? And I told you guys, MJF looking at Bryan Danielson after the match via the skybox is not going to excite many people. Same thing here. What happened after this match? What did it lead to, right? Nothing. I have nothing in the notes. Do you know why? Nothing happened afterwards, guys. Claudio and Mox won the match. Nothing progressed. Nothing, guys. Nothing happened that makes you go, oh shit, Claudio and Mox in the future. We got to see where they're going. Nothing. The Martins just put them to test. This is a 2-hour television show. And we just got another good match. So now we go into the next segment, which is just another match. Now, at least this is an enhancement match, right? This is FTW champion Hook versus Balaam Lynx. Finally, as I said, an enhancement match, or as we call them, a jobber match. These are still needed in pro wrestling today, guys. Now more than ever, believe it or not. Allow character development and domination, by the way. That's what these jobber matches do. The superstar continues to create that character development, and you create domination. People love to watch domination. While simultaneously, another top wrestler is not eating an L. That's why enhancement matches are so huge. Your wrestler is actually becoming a superstar, and while that's happening, the other wrestler, you don't have another top guy in there just taking an L and being 50-50 booked. Enhancement matches matter. And when you do them, you could do things like what you did with Action a couple of weeks ago, beating Jericho, right? You could do things like that with jobber matches, man. They're not just fun, but they're needed in pro wrestling. So it was actually a breath of fresh air to see this. And this was about a 25-second match, guys. I mean, Hook just defeats Lynx, yeah, right? Balaam Lynx via submission in approximately 25 seconds. I might be off by a few seconds. So you didn't get to see much here. If you blinked, if you honestly went to take a piss, make a fucking ham and cheese, picked up a new habit, maybe you played in traffic for a minute or two, you missed this match. And I don't know if that's good or not. I mean, it's what it is. I like enhancement matches. I don't know what this one truly did. I really don't. This was to set up something post-match that was just so weird, so awkward. Jungle Boy and Lee Moriarty are engaged in battle on the outside. That's right. Jungle Boy and Lee Moriarty appear outside. Meanwhile, Big Bill Morrissey is about to take out Hook in the ring. Jungle Boy is able to escape Lee Moriarty, Jungle Boy gets in the ring, strikes Big Bill with a 2x4, I believe. Ho! Old school hacksaw Jim Duggan. And the odd Jungle Boy Hook collaboration takes us out of hour number 1. That's literally how hour 1 ended, guys. Morrissey is taken out by Jungle Boy, and Hook and Jungle Boy look at each other and they're like, wow, we're like the same size, height, and muscle mass, and like we could be a team maybe. I don't know, man. I don't know where Tony Khan's going with this. But, I mean, I guess you can... BC, I'm so intrigued by that, man. I can't wait to see what they do with Jungle Boy and Hook. Maybe you really feel that way. That's good for you. I know that I witnessed an hour of a pro wrestling television show, and I can't tell you anything that I'm excited for going forward in the first hour. We've got a couple of good matches. Okay, got good wrestling on a wrestling show. Okay. But how is this a television show? Any show that you watch, you're watching because you're intrigued by the characters and the storyline is keeping you engaged every week. Nothing happened in that first hour. So now BC's like, okay, let's go to hour 2. There's got to be something here that I can latch onto and feel like I need to watch AEW going forward. So let's see if hour 2 did that. We started with Death Triangle versus the Elite. This is match 6 of 7. And this is a Falls Count Anywhere match. Triangle leads the series, by the way, 3-2. They start backstage, beating the fuck out of each other. Then they leak out to the top of the ramp. There's flips, there's dives. The crowd for the 3rd match in a row, if you take out the Hook shit, because that was a 25-second enhancement match. But as far as actual, longevity in matches, the 3rd in a row, the crowd is absolutely fucking bonkers, dude. Crowd for the 3rd straight match now chanting, "This is awesome!" I'm not sure what's in the water in Denver, but they need to get out more, bro. Go to the movies, have a fucking cheeseburger at the local McDonald's. But wow, everything was awesome to them. I mean, again, maybe they were just happy to get out, man. It's winter, it's Denver, it's cold. But wow, I mean, this was pretty early, man. Just some backstage beating the fuck out of each other. I think Phoenix jumped off one of the tunnels at the ramp, and all of a sudden, it's awesome. All of a sudden, this is up there with fucking Triple Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, WrestleMania 25. Whoa, hold on, man. Every match can't be awesome. I mean, do you know what the definition of awesome is? It was really cool. There was a guy in the crowd, and he had a sign for every match. Every match, he would say, "This is dope." I always tell you guys, can we come up with a new chant? Why does it always have to be "this is awesome"? As wrestling fans, we have to get more creative. Because if you're saying that everything is awesome, then you can't go any higher than that. Right? So I always tell you guys, we have to come up with a different chant. There was a guy in the crowd. He put up, "This is dope" for one match. Then another match, he puts up, "This is fine." Then another match, he's like, "This is okay." So I don't know if it's a viewer or not, but I thought that was hilarious, bro. "This is okay. This is fine." It was great. I always tell you guys that, we have to get more creative, man. Every match was awesome, according to this crowd. So they were just fucking, yeah, that was just, the crowd was its own life form last night. Matt Jackson taps out to Pac, but Kenny Omega was able to pin Phoenix off of a one-winged angel from a platform at the top of the ramp through a table. And again, that was pretty simultaneous. And the referee counted Kenny Omega over Phoenix before the referee in the ring was able to call the match after Jackson tapped out to Pac. I hope that makes sense. So the bottom line, guys, is that the Elite wins this match and ties it up 3-3. That's all you really need to know here, man. After all the chaos, the circus sideshow shit. And again, so now we say, so okay, you got the action. Many of you maybe have gotten a banger, right? But what does it do? In fact, wait, wasn't there even a fight for... Yeah, they even had a fight forever, guys. Remember I told you guys the other two matches, the only thing we were missing was a fight forever chant? This match even got fight forever. So a lot of people got another banger last night. So what does it lead to now, right? It leads to just the 7th match. So now you're going to see these same teams take on each other for a 7th fucking time. Now, if you're into this shit, that's awesome, man. I'm not even, seriously, different strokes for different folks. I totally get it. I'm not into this. It's the same. I mean, we're treating this like it's a real sport. We're treating it like it's the NFL playoffs, the NBA, the Major League Baseball. It's pro wrestling. We know it's scripted. We know it's predetermined, pre-planned. We know it's rehearsed a lot. We understand. We're just asking that you give us storylines, man. I understand. BC, this is the storyline. Best of 7, man. Okay, you guys are going to get what you waited for 2 months. You're going to get your 7th match. Good for you. For people like BC, I can't wait to just get that done with, and we can move on from this shit. I didn't like it when who was it before, guys? See, that's how forgettable it is. I think it was like Cesaro versus Sheamus, maybe. They did a best of 7 in WWE because it's Cesaro and Sheamus, and they can put out bangers. I think it was them. And I didn't care for it then either. It's like tournaments. I don't like tournaments in pro wrestling. It's predetermined, it's scripted, it's rehearsed. I get it. I don't need to act like we have to wait. I don't want to wait 2 fucking months to find out what one schmuck backstage just penciled in 2 months earlier. You're going to be the best in the world in this tournament. I don't need to wait. I just want to be captivated, man. I want storylines that are jumping off the screen. So when all this is said and done, we're just waiting now for the 7th fucking match between them. I know. But you say, I don't know what you're talking. It's bangers! Acclaimed then unveils their new music video, and they just annihilate Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett verbally. But poor Kurt Angle got burned the worst. Kurt Angle, there was a line like Jeff Jarrett stealing more money worse than Kurt Angle's fucking wife or something like that. Some line like that. And I'm like, oh, poor Kurt. I hope Kurt was notified beforehand. I hope either Jeff, Jay, or the Acclaimed gave him a heads up. Because that was a burn, bro. Of course, if you guys don't know, Jeff Jarrett took the wife of Kurt Angle. I don't want to say took. I mean, there was already some turmoil going on, and Karen ended up going over to Jeff, and poor Kurt got burned in the process. Then Ty Mello and Anna Jay versus Willow and Ruby Soho. I totally understand that this is a match on paper and live in the ring that will not pique most of our interest in the least. I get it, guys. I totally get it. But the crowd never even gave them a chance. They sat the fuck down immediately at the start of the bell, and they never stood back up in this match. They were on fire for everything beforehand, even before the matches began. That's why I say they gave every match a chance from the jump. But when it came to the women, they were just like, And again, on paper, I totally understand that, but damn, man, where's the fire, man? That crowd has to know that the ladies never get the love. You're on fire the whole night. Why not just give the ladies an extra just that extra spunk of love, man? Let them perform at a higher level than they even thought was possible because they're feeling your energy. That was the night to do it, and the crowd just didn't give 2 fucks. And again, that's just the disconnect with pro wrestling fans and women's wrestling, at least here in the States, North America at large, really. Especially AEW fans. They just don't really take to women's wrestling. The Jamie Hayter match, what was that, last week or 2 weeks ago? I couldn't believe that got the reaction that got because that is just abnormal. I wish it was more consistent, and I was hoping it kind of branched into this week's tag match with the ladies. But they were just not having it on paper. It just didn't do it live in the ring. It didn't do it. For that crowd not to give a fuck, it's got to be pretty fucking bad. The match wasn't that bad. The finish was sloppy as fuck. They tried to do a lot of moving parts, and it just didn't come out well. But yeah, it was just funny. I just knew it was going to happen. I knew the crowd was going to sit the fuck down and be quiet for that match. Mello hits the tie KO on Ruby for the W. Welcome back, Ruby. Ruby just got back a couple weeks ago. She's eating a nonsensical tag match loss. Ty flips the entire crowd off before exiting. Fucking beautiful, man. The crowd was like, that's it. And Ty's just like, fuck you. You pissed off because me and Sammy make out. You fucking dudes are jealous because you ain't ever going to get a girl like me. And that's why you don't give a fuck about me. And that's why you turned on Sammy. She's flipping off everybody. I loved it, man. Anna Jay's like fucking laughing like, oh, damn, bro. You ruthless. And that grew a response from the crowd. They were pissed at that point. Boo, get the fuck out. We want to see the dudes. And that's what they got in the main event. Wardlow versus Samoa Joe, main event for the TNT title. Joe passes Wardlow out. The storyline here is that he got his leg taken out. Wardlow got his leg taken out by Samoa Joe earlier, and just him competing shows the heart of a lion, a tiger. And when he was half the match, he was walking fine. I mean, he powerbombed Samoa Joe fine with both legs, and then he tries again, and all of a sudden his leg gives out. And then he passes out. I don't know if that's the best booking. Joe passes him out. And then afterwards, guys, this is where it just gets mind-boggling here, man. So get this. For anybody trying to defend this type of booking, this is the type of bullshit that BC will never look past. It's like the CM Punk shit. I'll never forget when CM Punk took nearly, I think it was 8 or 9, nearly 10 fucking Wardlow bombs. I forgot the exact number. Maybe it was 10, but it was a lot. And then CM Punk jumped to his feet and rolled up Wardlow for the pin. And like people tried to defend that was okay. He even got fucking Wardlow bombed through a table on the outside, and he just jumped to his feet to roll up Wardlow. This is one of those things where after the match, Wardlow, he's battered and bruised, and he's on his feet though. He turns around and he sees Samoa Joe, and it's like a mutual respect. Joe's shaking his head, and Wardlow's like, "You got me, man. Fuck. Good job." And I'm like, what are you doing? The guy took your leg out with a pipe and kept his fucking title. Wouldn't you be trying? You're Wardlow. You're a beast. You're supposed to attack him with one leg after the match. It's not even about a title at that point. Instead, Wardlow's like, you got me, man. I'm so hurt. And at that point, Samoa Joe's like, you weak geek. And he just hits Wardlow with the championship because he's like, what the fuck? You're a pathetic. So he takes out Wardlow again after the match, beats the fuck out of him, takes a pair of scissors just to embarrass him, and cuts his fucking ponytail off. Nothing like a badass to read in the headlines. AEW star gets his ponytail cut. And then afterwards, totally off cue, the music guy fucking totally cut off cue the music of Darby Allin. So then Darby Allin is 18 minutes late. Darby hits the ring, takes out fucking Samoa Joe with a skateboard. Samoa Joe at that point is like, I can't do this, skateboard kid. Go back to the skate park, man. And then Darby Allin ends the show. I mean, after 2 hours, your cliffhanger, there was none, but your ending moment to get you captivated for next week is Darby Allin versus Samoa Joe going forward. You gotta see, I mean, if Wardlow couldn't do it, one leg, no leg, it doesn't matter. I've seen Wardlow take out people with fucking handcuffed. Darby Allin's gonna take it? I don't get this booking at all by Tony Khan, and I don't see how people can defend this type of booking, man. That is not how you end Dynamite. Maybe you put that in the first half an hour of the show, or first, maybe, I don't even know. I wouldn't even book that shit. This does not make Wardlow look good at all, guys. This doesn't even matter. Everyone's trying to say, was Wardlow buried last night? It doesn't matter. He was already ruined before that. I mean, this is just not how you book Wardlow. 2022 has been disastrous for his booking. He had a couple of high spots. He had all the momentum, and Tony Khan made it a point to rip that momentum away from him, just like he did with FTR. So I don't know why there's even a conversation. This is not how you properly book Wardlow. That's the end of conversation. It's not even a debate. You can have your differences of opinions. We all have to agree that this is horrible booking for Wardlow. And the rest of the show, you're just booking. I get so confused watching AEW. The whole show, they're setting up a bunch of matches for Rampage, which only half of their audience is even going to watch. Ish, give or take 100,000 every now and again. So they're setting up a bunch of Rampage matches. Then they're setting up 4 more matches for next week's Dynamite. Then 2 more Rampages for 2 weeks from now. 3 more matches for 2 weeks away from Dynamite. Then we're setting up the next fucking match maybe for the pay-per-view in 2 fucking months. Granny's fucking gut check. Or whatever the next paper. I don't even know. There's so many matches being thrown at us because this guy is like a kid with action figures. Tony Khan has 100 fucking wrestlers and he's just spewing off matches just to build his AEW library. Because at the end of the day, if he ever sells or anything, that library is going to make him the most money. That's why you see Dark and the YouTube shows and 100 wrestlers having fucking 1,000 matches every week. He wants to build a library. And in the process, people like BC are so fucking confused. I can't keep up with all this shit, man. Wheeler Utah's making matches with Swerve backstage. In 20 seconds, they're setting up a match for Rampage. Excalibur or whoever the fuck is running down a whole fucking Rampage list and then next week's Dynamite. And I'm like, whoa. We're not building shit. We're just throwing out matches that are just made after just people just come in contact with one another. Swerve is cutting a promo, and Wheeler Utah comes out of nowhere, and he's like, I don't like what you did to Keith. That's mean. I'll see you on Rampage. And Swerve's like, I'll see you there. 10 seconds later, and on Rampage, Swerve will take on Wheeler Utah. And you're like, well, I can't wait till Friday now. Maybe it's going to be a banger. If this was a live event, this was off the hook. This was a television show. And this did nothing for BC, and I know so many fucking others, man. So, that's where we stand. So if you thought I was going to praise Dynamite, no. Action, bangers, good crowd, I get it. Booking, the booking of this shit, what it leads to, is BC excited for anything in AEW right now? Nothing. Literally nothing. I'm as excited to see what happens in AEW as I am for Monday Night Raw. I'm not. There is not even my boy MJF. MJF versus Bryan Danielson is not even intriguing me because they didn't even give a fuck last night to make me give a fuck. Other than, it should be a good match. I'm the only one that's going to drop this type of truth. You may not want to hear it, man, but I know there's a lot of people like BC that are just, this show did nothing for me, right? I mean, were you truly at home screaming, this is awesome, for all the bangers last night? Come on. BC, top guy, I'm fucking out. Befuddled by what happened with Dragon Lee, but I shouldn't be because Paul 3H's Levesque wants to take it to fucking Tony Khan. That's one way to do it. He did AEW dirty last night. BC, man, until next time, I'm saying check you. Peace. To all my members, man, I want to give you a proper shout out right now. My Amplified Gold Card members. Special salute to you guys, man. And that's right now. Check you.